Here is the English translation of your passage. In the martial world, people call this man the Lone Wolf. He posted a notice summoning heroes to protect the Qingming sword, but it was torn down by a notorious villain. That man even demanded Lone Wolf pay them before they would help. Lone Wolf clearly held them in contempt, which enraged the villain and prompted him to attack. At that moment, martial arts experts sitting at a nearby table, driven by their chivalrous hearts, stepped in to support Lone Wolf. Seeing injustice and drawing our swords to help, that is our duty, they said. Facing dozens of bandits, Lone Wolf remained calm. He first knocked down the leader, then fought off the henchmen who rushed in, defeating them one by one to teach them a lesson in respect. He didn't want to harm anyone, just to strike at the arrogance of the bandits. The other martial artists also displayed their skills. With the heavenly mountain's palm, cloud armor, and round shield protecting them, the willow leaf sabers served both offense and defense. The shadowless mark and hidden golden blades within their robes showed devastating power, instantly crippling their foes. Among them was a strange fighter with short hair and a sunken gaze. With mysterious techniques and innate talent, his attacks combined offense and defense, leaving no openings. The leader, humiliated by Lone Wolf, furiously slashed a flagpole in half, only to be taken down by Lone Wolf's eagle spreads wings move, collapsing backward from a strike to the head. The bandits were thoroughly defeated by the chivalrous heroes. Afterward, everyone set off together to protect the Qingming sword, a blade once carried by the great hero Li Mubai. 20 years ago, Li Mubai had given the sword to Tibei Luo. The Qingming sword embodied the spirit of justice and heroism of both men and became a symbol of leadership in the martial world. After Tibei Luo's death, chaos broke out as sects fought to claim the sword and rule the martial world. Before his death, Tibei Luo hid the Qingming sword deep within his estate and told his heir, Xiao Beiluo, "As long as the sword remains, so do we." It was time for them to reappear in the martial world. On the way to the Beiluo estate, Du Tulian's carriage was attacked by masked assassins. Just when her life was in danger, a mysterious masked swordsman appeared and fought beside her. During the clash, one of the assassin's masks was knocked off. As Du Tulian was about to kill him, a blinding light stopped her, allowing the assassin to escape. Du Tulian remembered the assassin's face. The masked swordsman killed the remaining attackers and disappeared after ensuring her safety. She recognized from their markings that they were from the Tailian sect, a demonic sect in the martial world. Their leader, King Daiyan, not only coveted Wudang, but also had slain Du Tulian's old friend, Meng Tuchao. One day, a girl named Shui Bing arrived at the Tailian sect, claiming she wanted to join. But when she saw King Daiyan, she suddenly grabbed the saber of the sect guardian and charged at him in fury. King Daiyan drew his own saber and easily repelled her after only a few moves. Her blade shattered under his strikes, and realizing she was no match, Shui Bing fled. The others wanted to chase her, but King Daiyan stopped them. Meanwhile, the assassin who failed to kill Du Tulian was on his way back to the sect when a mysterious blind girl intercepted him. Her origins were unknown, but she demanded to be taken to King Daiyan. Her name was Ju Wu Yun. Upon meeting the king, she began to convince him to steal the Qingming sword. But King Daiyan believed the sword was hidden in the Beiluo estate in the capital, and stealing it would require massacring the entire city, an act as good as suicide. Ju Wu Yun claimed that no army was needed, just the assassin who had led her to him. His name was Wei Fang, disciple of the Iron Claw Guardian. Though he had just been defeated by Du Tulian, Ju Wu Yun argued he was the only one to return alive from the failed mission, which meant he had a deeper connection to the Qingming sword. Meanwhile, Du Tulian arrived at the capital and visited the Beiluo estate. 20 years earlier, Tie Beiluo had adopted her as his daughter. Now, fulfilling his final wish, she was willing to risk her life to protect the Qingming sword. As she gazed at the sword, Xiao Beiluo recalled the days when Du Tulian and Li Mubai stayed at the estate. Everyone believed they would become a couple, but Du Tulian confessed it was impossible. She had been betrothed to Meng Tuchao since childhood. Meng had once dueled King Daiyan, but fell off a cliff. Here is the English translation of your passage. The thief didn't escape in time. Du Tulian rushed in and caught him. She removed the thief's mask and realized it was Nguyen Phuong, the assassin sent by the Tailin sect who had stolen her treasured sword 3 days ago. Everyone wanted to imprison Nguyen Phuong, but Du Tu Lien stopped them. Why would the Lord Dien Vuong send someone with such mediocre martial skills to steal a sword? Sensing something suspicious, she locked Nguyen Phuong in an iron cage placed in the courtyard. Yet, Tuyet Bin seemed unusually concerned about Nguyen Phuong. Growing suspicious of Tuyet Bin, Du Tu Lien deliberately handed her the sword. Seeing that Tuyet Bin accepted it without hesitation, Du Tu Lien seized the opportunity to test the girl's martial arts. With just one move, she broke Tuyet Bin's attack. Shocked, Tuyet Bin immediately begged to become Du Tu Lien's disciple. But Du Tu Lien, long accustomed to solitude, had no intention of taking on students. The next day, Du Tu Lien learned from Nguyen Phuong that if he failed to steal the sword, the Lord Dien Vuong would send troops to bathe the Boylak mansion in blood. Du Tu Lien instructed the young master Boylak to send the Than Min sword to Mount Wudang as soon as possible. But the young master insisted his father's dying wish was to keep the sword in the mansion. He would live and die with it, no matter what Du Tu Lien said. During training, Tuyet Bin struggled to break through Du Tu Lien's techniques. Frustrated, she thought Du Tu Lien was purposely making things difficult. But Du Tu Lien told her that relying only on sight wasn't enough. One must stay calm and listen closely. Afterward, the lone wolf and 4 warriors rode off toward the capital. Eventually, they arrived at the Boylak mansion. Hearing of heroic visitors from afar, Du Tu Lien came out to greet them. But upon seeing the lone wolf, she suddenly turned cold and walked away. Everyone was confused. It turned out the lone wolf was actually Mantu Chieo, the man who disappeared 20 years ago. At the time, everyone knew Du Tu Lien loved Li Mok Bak, Mantu Chieo's senior brother. Yet, Du Tu Lien was bound by a childhood engagement to Mantu Chieo. To let the two be together, Mantu Chieo faked his death by falling into a ravine and lived in seclusion from then on. However, he never imagined that Li Mok Bak, wholly devoted to the martial world, never intended to marry Du Tu Lien, treating her only as a younger sister. In the end, Du Tu Lien never forgave him. Her reaction helped Tuyet Bin sense the lone wolf's true identity. Tuyet Bin told Mantu Chieo that Du Tu Lien still loved him. The two later talked atop the roof, setting aside the past. Du Tu Lien expressed suspicion that Tuyet Bin might be connected to Han Mi, the traitor who betrayed their master years ago. Furthermore, Tuyet Bin's eyes always showed a special concern for the prisoner Nguyen Phuong. This made Du Tu Lien question whether Tuyet Bin was truly an ally or an enemy. In the cage, Nguyen Phuong spent his time watching Tuyet Bin practice martial arts out of boredom. Meanwhile, the Tan Lien sect waited anxiously. Lord Dien Vuong had already begun wiping out all sects that refused to submit to him. Under the influence of Ku U Van, the Tan Lien sect began executing its plan to unify the martial world. Dien Vuong ordered Fa Han Eagle to lead a team to steal the Than Min sword, while he led the rest to ambush outside the capital. At the same time, Mantu Chieo was preparing defensive strategies. Once everything was in place, everyone took position, ready to face the Tai Lien sect. Suddenly, the palace fell into chaos. The Tai Lien sect had arrived earlier than expected. Doan Huanan and the Tan guards flew into the Boylak mansion, killing the gatekeepers and opening the city gates. Tai Lien assassins surged in. They quickly slaughtered their way into the inner courtyard. Mantu Chieo led 41 warriors into battle. In an instant, swords clashed and blood flew. Seeing the assassins reach the inner gate, Tuyet Bin mistakenly thought Nguyen Phuong had leaked information. She grabbed her sword and went to confront him. But at that moment, Doan Huanan attacked her from behind, knocking the sword from her hand with a single move. As she was about to be killed, Nguyen Phuong revealed the sword's hiding place. Doan Huanan rushed off to retrieve it, sparing Tuyet Bin. Meanwhile, Du Tu Lien, who had been guarding the Than Min sword, joined the fray. After 20 years, she and Mantu Chieo fought side by side once more. Their coordination was as seamless as ever. Seeing that they were pushing back the enemy, Du Tu Lien realized this might be the perfect distraction for someone to escape. Sure enough, Ku Van had already located the sword's hiding place. Here is the English translation of your passage. Unexpectedly, Thiep Bi Lo was no match for Nguyen Phuong, Mantuccio had to use his superior martial arts to subdue Nguyen Phuong. Meanwhile, because Nguyen Phuong had saved Tuyet Bin during last night's battle, Tuyet Bin discovered his true identity. His mother was Han Mi, a famous swordswoman. Han Mi was hunted by the Tai Lin sect and gave birth to Nguyen Phuong in an inn. A guest staying there secretly swapped Nguyen Phuong with a baby girl. Han Mi raised that girl, who turned out to be Tuyet Bin. She passed all her martial arts skills to Tuyet Bin and instructed her to find Nguyen Phuong. If Nguyen Phuong was a good person, Tuyet Bin must protect him. But if he sided with the Tai Lin sect, she had to kill him. Meanwhile, Du Thu Lien wanted to take the Thanh Minh sword away, believing it only brought danger to its holder. That night, Tuyet Bin secretly opened the cage and let Nguyen Phuong go. She never expected that Nguyen Phuong would return midway and steal the Thanh Minh sword. He fled with the sword on his back, but was caught on the icy river by Mantuccio, who had been waiting for him. Mantuccio advised Nguyen Phuong to put the sword down and leave, but Nguyen Phuong was determined to keep it, even if it meant death. Seeing his resolve, Mantuccio had no choice but to fight, though he held back. Just as he was about to win, a Tai Lin sect follower charged in and struck him. That man was Nguyen Phuong's master, which left Mantuccio with no more hesitation. He drew the sword on his back and fought with all his might. Thiet Ao and Nguyen Phuong attacked from both sides. Unable to withstand Mantuccio's power, Nguyen Phuong fell into the icy river and nearly drowned. But Mantuccio pulled him out. Thiet Ao seized the opportunity to attack and struck Mantuccio's broken rib. He then told Nguyen Phuong to take the Thanh Minh sword and go ahead while he stayed back to hold off the enemy. As Nguyen Phuong rode off, Thiet Ao collapsed from severe injuries. Mantuccio also fell to his knees on the frozen river, wounded. At that moment, Vu Thu Lien suddenly appeared. She helped him to the riverbank and personally tended to his wounds. Their relationship was reconciled at that moment. After Nguyen Phuong escaped, he brought the Thanh Minh sword to King Dien Vuong. Overjoyed, the king did not sense Nguyen Phuong's murderous intent. Just as he reached out for the sword, Nguyen Phuong suddenly drew it and slashed. King Dien Vuong dodged and pulled out his own blade. In just a few moves, he knocked Nguyen Phuong away. Suddenly, there was commotion outside. Mantuccio and Du Thu Lien were in battle. Phi Dao Li and Thiet Bich Lo followed closely behind. Due to the vast difference in strength, King Dien Vuong kicked Nguyen Phuong out of the tower. Mantuccio flew in and saved him. Nguyen Phuong used the moment to throw the Thanh Minh sword to Mantuccio. He caught it steadily and stepped onto the tower's peak. A 20-year grudge needed to be settled. King Dien Vuong's 7-kill sword was incredibly fierce, slicing through iron like mud. But the Thanh Minh sword in Mantuccio's hand was legendary. Though Nguyen Phuong had been saved, he did not flee. Seeing Tuyet Bin struggling in battle, he kicked a knife forward and fought by her side. With Nguyen Phuong's support, Vu Thu Lien could now assist Mantuccio. Just as she was about to ascend the tower, Ku Uvan appeared. Unwilling to face Du Thu Lien directly, he lured her inside and blocked sunlight with a carpet. In the dark, Ku Yu Van became unpredictable and strange. But Du Thu Lien did not need to see. She simply closed her eyes and sensed. Ku Van's deadly attack failed, and yet